Students, now we will study about how the modern education was brought in by the British. What was the situation before this? There was mainly the Gurukul system where the male student, as per the Hindu customs, was sent to Gurukula to learn the Sanskrit language, to learn the sacred texts and other subjects. Girls were not given any education as such, and there were no subjects of science taught as such. So there was traditional education. It was reformed to some extent during the rule of the Muslim kings during the Middle Ages, but a lot of new changes occurred during the British rule. New schools were started for children of British and Europeans who lived in India. Since these facilities were never given to Indians, they wanted to have their own schools with similar facilities. Warren Hastings, the same person who brought about judicial reforms, he facilitated the expansion of modern education in India. He started the Calcutta Madarasa. The schools where Muslim education is given is called a Madarasa. So Warren Hastings supported the establishment of Calcutta Madarasa in the year 1781. Jonathan Duncan, a British individual, started Sanskrit College in Banaras in 1792. It was Charles Grant who pressed for universalization of British education in India. So if you see until now, Warren Hastings supported Calcutta Madrasa. Jonathan Duncan supported for a Sanskrit college. It is still traditional learning. But who said we want British education in full India? It was Charles Grant. The expansion of British education in India received special support after the appointment of Lord William Bentinck in 1828 as Governor General of India. He even appointed a commission under the leadership of Macaulay and called this the Governor General's Executive Committee. Now when they make a committee, let's say they want to make a law. For example, now they have made the new education policy. They first make a committee and they invite a lot of experts to do some research and to give advice as to how we can bring about change. So William Bentinck appointed Macaulay to form a commission under his supervision. Macaulay was also appointed as the chairperson of this committee on education. He gave a report. This report became the base of education, of modern education in India. The schools that you all go, the pre-primary education, the primary education, the higher secondary education, all of these recommendations were given by Macaulay. So you can imagine it was started then, it's being followed even today. In his policy, he aimed at creation of a new class of Indians who are Indians by body, but British by intelligence, opinion and taste. The use of English medium in Indian learning system started after 1830s. So he said in these schools, they may be Indians by body, but we will teach them everything on how it is to be a British, how to have the taste of a person from England and so on. And they made English medium as a mode of instruction from the year 1830. Another important development included the establishment of universities in India. The Governor General Lord Dalhousie established universities in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras as per the suggestion of Charles Wood's commission. So for university, the higher learning, we have universities. Who gave the recommendation? Charles Wood. Who was the Governor General who set up these universities? Lord Dalhousie. Don't forget these names. After this, the education started becoming universalized. Students now in the school syllabus, they learn democracy, equality, nationalism, liberty, fraternity, these values. So Indians could develop these modern thoughts by access to such learning, and they also developed the feeling of nationalism. Impetus or encouragement was given for local literature and languages. So because they could study all these ideas and values even in the local vernacular languages of their own mother tongue, they could now understand these values better and become united. Periodicals. I told you all what's a periodical. It's a newspaper or a magazine printed after every short period of time. These scrutinize the policies and working of the government. Now people are educated, they can read, they can understand, so they started criticizing various policies of the government, which enabled the Indians to have critical opinions on various issues. New social and religious reformation movements also emerged. The thoughts of thinkers like J.S. Mill, Rousseau and Montesquieu brought fresh thinking in the minds of educational youth of India. The freedom struggles that were taking place across the globe influenced the Indians also. So students, this brings us to the end of the education system. You all need to clearly know which are the Governor Generals who supported. You need to know the contributions of Charles Wood. You also need to know the contribution of Macaulay. And then you need to know all the 6 points on how the British impacted the modern education system of India. Indians could understand and appreciate the rich tradition. So they started learning about how ancient and medieval India was so rich in culture and tradition. So a new thinking was instilled amongst Indians by this modern education system. You all should know all the 7 points that we have discussed, especially with respect to the impact of British rule on the education of India. Hi students, now we will study the constitutional development under the British. There are regulating acts and then there are charter acts. You may get very confused because there are so many acts. What comes under each act, which one is very important, how to remember. So this is the method we will follow. First I will help you understand the concept properly. Imagine it as a story. Then I will also teach you some memory techniques so that you can remember this in a very easy manner. Now let's begin with constitutional developments. These reforms in the constitution were mainly to make the administration easier for the British. For Indians, it was a journey of they not being included in the government at all to they being included in the government. So each time a reform was passed, Indians saw that they had greater representation in the government. So all of these laws that were there, it helped the British to administer the country. The first one is Regulating Act of 1773. So Dewani Rights were implemented. Students, what was Dewani Rights? Dewani right is the right to collect land tax. So these rights were given to the British in the regions of Bengal. The greedy company officials misused the Dewani rights and they became rich in a very corrupt way. How, you ask? So let's say the English East India Company has told the officials to collect 50,000 pounds as tax. These officials must collect this tax and give it to the English East India Company, who in turn will give it to the British government. But they would not do that. They would take this money for themselves in the process. So they did this corrupt practice, and this corruption spiraled out at all levels of officers. Edmond Burk, a member of the British Parliament, criticized this corrupt practice of the English East India Company. He termed the tax payment received by the British government from the East India Company as criminal tax. He was forced to criticize it in this manner as the government remained silent to the fact of corruption among the company officials. So the British government knew that corruption is happening, but they didn't care to do anything. So Edmund Burk, he used a very strong term as criminal tax to the tax that was received from English East India Company. Many company officials had become super rich, and many in England feared that these people may upset the very political fabric of England. So, under this background, the Regulating Act of 1773 was passed. What happened because of this act? Before the implementation of this act, there were 3 presidencies under the British rule: Bengal, Madras and Bombay. All these were independent. What Bengal would do, it would do on its own. What Bombay would do, it would do on its own. What Madras would do, it would do on its own. So they were all independent administrative units. Under this, Bengal presidency became the head of Bombay and Madras presidencies. The Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of all the 3 presidencies. And the Governor General got powers. What was his power? He was authorized to direct, exercise, control and supervise the other 2 presidencies. So the Governor General of Bengal got authority to rule over Madras and the Bombay presidency as well. The Bombay and Madras presidencies could not declare war or enter into any peace agreements independently without consulting with the Governor General of the Bengal presidency and the board of directors of the company. Only during acute emergencies they were allowed to act independently. According to this act, Supreme Court of Judicature was established in Calcutta. So finally we have a Supreme Court, and the Act of 1773, the Regulating Act of 1773, established the Supreme Court in Calcutta. In this central court there was 1 Chief Justice and 3 ordinary judges. So in this way, like the very name suggests, they wanted to regulate the affairs of the East India Company in India. So a quick recap, what was the background? Dewani Rigths were given. There was a lot of corruption and misuse by the officials. So Edmond Burk called it criminal tax, and this led them to formulate and implement the Regulating Act of 1773. As per this, the Bengal presidency came to be the head of Bombay and Madras presidency as well, and the Governor General of Bengal became responsible for the other presidencies of Bombay and Madras as well. And it established the Supreme Court in Calcutta. And they could not declare war on other places without consulting the Board of Directors and Governor General of Bengal. Now let's go to the next act. Pitt's India Act of 1784. There were many inconsistencies in this Act of 1773. A lot of confusion. It was not very clear. And the powers of the English East India Company was not defined. So to clarify all this, the Pitt's India Act of 1784 was passed. The government of England restricted the powers of the English East India Company. So they wanted to cut down the powers the English East India Company had. So what did they do? A new institution called Board of Controllers consisting of 6 commissioners was started. So they put a board of commissioners. So this Board of Controllers was there, and there were a Board of Directors also. The Board of Controllers that were made as per the Pitt's India Act of 1784, they replaced the Board of Directors. This board had the power to direct and control the issues related to land tax, military and civil areas. So 3 things: land tax, civil, military. All these 3 responsibilities went to whom? To the Board of Controllers. The Board of Control came into existence in place of Board of Directors. So students, we saw that the Board of Controllers is replaced by Board of Directors. This act said that all the territories of British which the English East India Company had in India. So English East India Company has conquered almost the entire India. So the British government said that this is the territory of the British government in England. This is the first time they made such declaration. It declared that areas under the possession of East India Company are the integral part of the British Empire. Hence the government of England is the ultimate or is the highest ruler of India.